today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at the current conditions as well as diving into the modeled guidance because we have multiple upcoming snowstorms to talk about, especially in the eastern United States, but there also is a few up there for the upper Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Great Lakes, as well as out west, but that's no surprise there. It would honestly be more of a breaking news headline if I said there was going to be no snow out west. That would probably be more shocking. So that's why that wasn't too worth mentioning. Now, as we take a look at the current conditions, we can see actually a major storm system beginning to move onshore to the west there with an occluded front, usually characteristic of a pretty strong storm. And we can see this is causing precipitation up and down the west coast, likely to continue to move further inland. We're going to see the west get stormier and stormier over the next couple of days here. We also have a pretty major storm system taking place across the upper Midwest here with some low pressure systems nearby Minnesota. For the most part, I think they are over Minnesota. And this is basically causing snowfall mostly for a lot of these areas in South Dakota, Nebraska, Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin there. It is causing some showery activity across Kansas, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois, and Missouri as well. And then it appears like some thunderstorms happening here underneath for a lot of these areas in the deeper south, like Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama. Areas like that, we do have some thunderstorm activity happening with this system. So that is the look at this point. Now, as we just zoom in, I just want to take a couple of looks here, especially at the snowfall areas here. So as we take a look at the Cascades here across Washington and Oregon, we can see some heavier snowfall taking place at this point here. So a lot of these mountain ranges in here. As we work our way further south, we can see these hillier regions to the north of the Bay Area in California. We have some snowfall mixing in as well. And those are the main areas seeing snowfall out there. And then as we take a look here at the Dakotas, Minnesota, Nebraska, and portions of Iowa, we can also see extremely heavy snowfall for a lot of these areas in here. So that is what we're looking at. Certainly worth noting, this is a very, very large area receiving this snowfall actually. So a lot of miles and miles and miles of areas seeing this snowfall. Very interesting situation up there. Very characteristic of those regions. And then we can see underneath, we see thunderstorm activity. I'm going to underline a couple of these in eastern Oklahoma, southern Arkansas, near Birmingham and Alabama, and then actually near Mobile and south of Mobile and Alabama, there it appears like there's a stronger thunderstorm there as well. Now, what we're going to go ahead and do is move on from this and go ahead and just dive into the modeled guidance where, again, there's multiple snowstorms to track and big question marks as we head into mid to late March if we're going to continue to be cold or if we will eventually warm up. All right, now let's dive into this European model. The first thing I want to watch for actually is this storm moving onshore to the west, because as we can see, that little low pressure system with the occluded front offshore is going to cause all of this by the time we're taking a look at overnight tonight, Thursday into Friday the 10th, already a third of the way through March. Can't believe it. We're going to be deep into the spring before we know it and approaching summertime. If you can believe that. We do have heavy snowfall expected for the Cascades, Sierra Nevadas, and the Rockies there with a 992 sitting over Washington State. We also have a weaker system here to the east, still bringing snowfall to multiple states now, including Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin there. To be pretty much just mentioning the areas receiving the heaviest snowfall. As we can see, what ends up happening is this low develops offshore and becomes a bit of a nor'easter. I think that's a big factor. This one's a 987 millibar low pressure center now, bringing snowfall to multiple different states, primarily horseshoeing around, as you can see, that low, and bringing a little bit of more rainy precipitation here to the west of everything. Now I want to zoom in for a minute. We will backtrack, but I want to zoom into the east so we can really get a good look at what's going to happen. This is really a particularly interesting situation, and we can see, I want to just draw out where that heaviest snowfall corridor is, because it's going to kind of do this. Maybe not even that far north on the eastern end, but we'll see. Yeah, something like that. And then it ends up being right near New York City for a while, kind of like we suspected, but it does not ride up the coast. So the main thing that we're seeing that's different from what we were seeing is we expected heavy snowfall for multiple hours in this area originally. And it has kind of trended to where all of that is now further south, and really the heaviest snowfall sits over this area now. And once it's all said and done, we can see another one, by the way, is coming in at pretty much the same exact look. But once it's all said and done, this is what we'll end up with. So a much lighter and more typical snowfall event than what was originally suspected, especially by this European model. Seeing a swath like this of snowfall, more spread out as we head westward, a little bit more exclusive as we head eastward, but those areas in northern New Jersey, southern New York could get a good 6 to 10 inches there. Same story near Erie, Pennsylvania, and Buffalo, New York, headed towards the Finger Lakes regions in northern central Pennsylvania. Same exact thing, 6 to 10 inches about. And then Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Minnesota, all receiving the same, about 6 to 10. So this storm seems to be about a 6 to 10 inch storm, in my opinion. I know, crazy stuff, right? Very, very wild take there. Now, let's go ahead and track this next storm. Like I said, we'll backtrack here. We see it transitions over the plains, and then it becomes kind of an upper Midwest snowstorm just like the other one. The low weakens for the most part, and we see snowfall spread around these areas. The low pressure center is there. It's just too weak to even show up on the map at this point. And we see it transfer south just like the other one, and now look what we have. It's kind of riding up, and it's going to do the same thing. It's going to kind of ride up as a nor'easter, but this one is going to stick around. So let's zoom into the east real quickly. I just want to track this. This is Sunday the 12th, by the way, so this isn't too far out. What we see is this storm tracks over eastern North Carolina, eastern Virginia, through the Delmarva. It's a little bit inland, and it heads off the Jersey Shore about midway up New Jersey, and we have extremely heavy snowfall in this corridor here, as you can see, especially eastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, southern New York, in those same exact regions that we saw the heaviest snowfall from the other event. We're seeing it here as well, and as we just continued this on, we can see that this moves onshore to New England, and it just continues to bring snowfall to these areas in here, which is going to pretty much pile up if this type of a solution happens, and it bombs down to a 977 at its lowest right there as it's over Massachusetts and Connecticut. Unfortunately for these folks, this would mean rainfall for areas nearby the low, as you can see. So areas very close to the coast would be struggling with rainfall. That mixed line would be about here, just like that. But areas west of there would really, really thrive as far as snowfall totals. And we'll take a look at just that storm. So this won't include that first storm. So we're going to take a look at the 3-day snowfall. And as you can see, and we'll actually zoom in further than this. Let's zoom into just this area here. And as you can see, we expect 6 to 10 in all the purple areas. So we're seeing areas like this. I love this, actually. This looks very realistic to me. As far as the mixing area, I think totals might be a little high, but I love the way this model is able to pick up on the different valleys and mountainous regions. I can already tell it's great by seeing that river valley through Massachusetts and Connecticut. Definitely very realistic. So that's your 6 to 10 inch line there. Within those purple areas, we expect obviously in these pink areas, according to this European model, anywhere from 10 inches plus. So that's going to be for mostly these areas here. And we can see extremely heavy snowfall throughout northern and inland New England, portions of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic as well. You're seeing 6 to 10 inches there. Again, look at how great it does with the elevation in that valley. And then the two mountainous regions to the east and west there. Does a great job so far with that. We can see anywhere from 20 to 25 inches in this area here, this area here, this area here, and then that area there. So again, Catskills, why did I just lose what those mountains are called? I forget. I know Berkshire's here, Green Mountains here, White Mountains here, Adirondacks. These are your Adirondack Mountains there. So Catskills, Adirondacks, Berkshires, and Green Mountains, and then your White Mountains there in the circle. All appear to be about 20 to 24 inches, maybe more. We're getting a max of 31 right there near the Finger Lakes regions there, just on kind of the western extent of those Catskill Mountains. Definitely, I think these totals are a little bit high. I think there's great potential for 10, 15 inches. But, you know, whenever you're looking at a 20 plus incher, that's definitely going to be something you want to take with a grain of salt, unless we start to see amazing agreement from all the models within 24 hours of this event happening. We're still quite a ways out, and this has some room to really back down. So we just want to know that the potential is there, and that's what we need to note, but definitely doesn't mean it's a sure thing. I think that's, a given. I don't think that even needs to be totally driven home. But we see our next storm system develop here as well. A 994 and then a 999 up here. So we actually have some pretty broad low pressure between these two systems. And I definitely am watching for our next severe weather outbreak underneath this system. Just the look that we're getting from this certainly looks like a pretty classic severe weather setup throughout a lot of these areas, and this could be our next pretty big event. And even up and down the East Coast, as we see warm air surging all the way up to Canada, I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing thunderstorms and very warm weather on this frame. But we'll have to confirm that, so I'll just take a look. Definitely appears like we're seeing above normal temperatures surging way up into Canada, as you can see. So that was a good observation, I guess. And I just want to take a look at the temperatures in the east, because anytime I'm seeing warm temperatures at this stage in the year, I'm getting excited. So definitely 60s and 70s would be warmly welcomed, no pun intended, for a lot of these areas. And I think that even 50s for a lot of these areas would be, I think 40s is quite warm for nearby Canada, but you guys would have to let me know. But this does look quite warm compared to normal, and especially what we're going to be seeing before this point in March. Now, the total precipitation tells us that, for one thing, we're going to have tons of major storms moving onshore to the west. No surprise there. That should eventually encourage a trough in the west, that much low pressure being there. And that will also encourage ridging in the east, but we're going to have to wait quite a while for that, maybe 10 days or so. We can see some more storms developing throughout these areas, rising up the plains. We see quite a bit of that. But also, as these storms kind of move across the Rockies there, as we see them move just like this, what we see is them transfer southward. We've seen a lot of this transferring this year, but we see them transfer eastward and southward and then become nor'easters there, very close to the coast. We actually see one, again, the one that's very close to happening, slip off. So that's why we see a lot of this red moving well offshore. But we do have that one that moves into New England, so it kind of forks like that. So we get two nor'easters, one moves in, one moves out. That is kind of the look here. And when we take a look at that total snowfall, it's evident that, again, typical amounts of snowfall for this winter out west, but the upper Midwest, Northern Plains, Great Lakes expects more than they've seen for the most of the winter. And then also same story for the Northeast here, as we've seen, expecting feet of snowfall there. Now, the GFS model, let's just walk our way through this one as well. We can see that we get a pretty good agreement. Actually, we get great agreement on that first storm, I want to say. So this one slips off just like the European model does, which means that the European model has won that one because the GFS model kept showing it close to the coast. European model kept saying it's going to move out, and then now look what the GFS is showing. It's trying to sneak its way in there and show the same thing and act like it's been shown it the whole time. We do get this major nor'easter as well, a little bit less major here on this GFS model, but we get a very similar track, as you can see, for storm number 2, and it does bring very heavy snowfall to New England. It just doesn't bring as widespread of snowfall. Now, this is when things start to get interesting. We get storm number 3 by the time we're reaching the 18th of March here on the European or the GFS model. We get this here, very heavy snowfall up and down kind of the eastern United States. Definitely would lead towards heavy snowfall totals, and that's a very classic storm there. Follows it up with very cold air, and then we get another nor'easter storm here, bringing the more interior regions here heavy snowfall. So definitely a very active March according to this GFS model, and it looks like it's not even done yet as another storm system is moving in with some cold air. So who knows? I mean, this looks very intense, but take this with a grain of salt. Wow, look at that. I don't know if I could take this seriously, guys. This seems like too much to me. But we're seeing 20, 30, 40, 50 inches throughout a lot of these areas as over the course of multiple major nor'easters. I definitely think this is a little bit bullish, to say the least. But only time will truly tell. I think the European model probably is more correct. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we move back into a warmer pattern at some point in later March, with which this model kind of holds back from happening. So again, only time will tell. We will continue to track it daily. I think this has at least been entertaining to see this at the very end of the video. Be sure to subscribe. We do upload every single day, so you can keep track of all these things with us as we just kind of track and compare every single day. Also, be sure to hit the bell icon for daily notifications so you never miss one when we do upload. Like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.